Hey, what's up? How you doing? As always, I'm your host, Kevin Malcolm, and you're tuned into Sports and Stuff. Now, if you couldn't tell from the background, this week we're doing stuff a little different as I'm traveling to College Station for a swim meet. So I'm currently filming outside of our hotel pool instead of my traditional studio. This week is also very special because earlier this week on Monday, NBA trade season opened up and the floodgates opened, allowing for a lot of crazy things to happen. And when I'm filming this video, the draft has yet to come. Now, when you're viewing this, the draft may have already taken place, and a lot of stuff can happen. A lot of things can get shaken up. But let's get into the moves that have already been made so far by Wednesday afternoon. So starting with something that I think will shake up the NBA a lot is a trade between the Phoenix Suns and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, the Oklahoma City Thunder sent Chris Paul and forward Abdel Nader to the Phoenix Suns in return for Kelly Oubre Jr., Ricky Rubio, Ty Jerome, Jalen Leckie, and a 2022 first-round pick. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is a lot of stuff for the Suns to send away. And the Suns did only go 34-39 last season. But let me remind you that in the NBA bubble, they finished the season 8-0, with Devin Booker leading that team to all of those victories. I think with the added leadership of Chris Paul, this team has a very good chance of not only making it to the playoffs next season, but making a little bit of a run, maybe even making it out of the first round, and maybe if something crazy happens, even all the way to the Western Conference Finals. As for the Oklahoma City Thunder, them giving up Chris Paul makes it seem like they're definitely moving into a rebuilding mode. They'll be in the lottery, as you can see from the pick that I'm inserting here, for a lot of years to come, until 2026 to be exact. So they're going to have tons of picks. Now, last year I thought OKC was going to be rebuilding too, and they ended up making the playoffs. But a lot of that did have to do, in my opinion, because they had Chris Paul and Dennis Schroeder, who we'll get to in a minute. Now, the Los Angeles Lakers, who are coming off the NBA championship, did make some moves, and surprisingly early in NBA trade season. As I mentioned before, they made a move to get Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder went to the Lakers for a 28th overall pick and guard Danny Green from the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, the Lakers cannot officially give their pick to the Oklahoma City Thunder because they already sent a first-round draft pick to the Pelicans in the previous year, and the NBA has certain rules about not being able to send first-round draft picks in consecutive years, but OKC does pretty much own the rights to whichever player the Lakers will be drafted. So as of right now, this trade is not final, but it's pretty sure going to happen, pretty sure going to go through. Both the teams have a verbal agreement that it's going to happen, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens on draft night. Now let's move on to another team in the West, the Houston Rockets. There's been much speculation about how Russell Westbrook and James Harden both are unhappy with their situations down in Houston and want out. But James Harden has been making the most noise in this offseason. James Harden turned down a historic deal from Houston that would make him the first player to ever average a $50 million salary. Now, this was just so shocking to me. I can't believe that he turned this down. I knew that Russell Westbrook was unhappy because he wasn't really the guy in Houston. He was brought in, and Russell Westbrook is a very ball-dominant player. But it truly surprised me to see that James Harden, who already is the face of the franchise, wants out of a place that he's called home for the majority of his career and where he became a true frontrunner for the MVP and one of the best players in the league. Now, the team James Harden is looking to move to is the Brooklyn Nets. If you don't know by now, the Brooklyn Nets have a star duo of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. But we haven't really seen them play together as Kevin Durant suffered a season injury 2 years ago in the NBA Finals versus the Toronto Raptors, and Kyrie Irving was in and out being injured most of last season. But moving into this season, they definitely had championship aspirations, bringing in Steve Nash as the new head coach and Mike D'Antoni, former coach of Steve Nash in Phoenix, to be an assistant and help them out. So you know that offense is already going to be very high-powered, a lot of running up and down the court, and obviously a lot of scoring. If you add James Harden to that picture, those numbers keep going up, and the team is going to be very hard to beat. Could we be seeing another super team, but this time out east in Brooklyn? I don't know. A lot is still up in the air on this. And according to reports from Adrian Wojnarowski, a reporter for ESPN on the NBA, the Rockets are not looking to move Russell Westbrook or James Harden and are quote-unquote willing to get uncomfortable with the two-star players. They're in no rush to move them, and as we saw with the previous GM, who was always making moves, it didn't really get them as far as they hoped it to be. So I think this new GM is going to take a little different approach and try to settle down, create a good core roster that he can build around for James Harden and Russell Westbrook. But as I said before, a lot is still up in the air on this, and we really don't know what's going to happen. I think a lot of it could be determined tonight on draft night, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. What is that? What'd you say? Oh, wow. Are you serious? Okay. Well, I'm glad we got this story first. Alright, folks, we do have some breaking news. This just in on Sports and Stuff. Star guard from the Golden State Warriors, Klay Thompson, has re-injured his leg. Unfortunately, the Golden State Warriors believe that this could be another torn Achilles, but similar to the other stories we talked about, a lot is still up in the air. This could definitely affect what's going on tonight in the draft, as the Warriors have the number 2 overall pick, and there's some very good guard players that are going to be available, obviously, up there in the draft. So, I know that's a weird and somber note to end on, but I hope you enjoy your day, your week, and I'll catch you next time.